He's not here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fun and exciting episode of Therefore God. We are late tonight, and we are minus a couple of people. Grappling Ignorance is off somewhere doing something. I have no idea what. But we do have Dark Matter and Dev Shell here, and it's possible that a couple of people will join us a little bit later on. So that's good. I'm sorry that this happened late, but I just forgot. I totally fucking forgot. So I got everything together in pretty quick order and put this together. Probably not going to stay on too long tonight. But we are here and we are live every Wednesday, every Wednesday night because we missed last week again too. But that one wasn't my fault. That one wasn't my fault. So. We are back on the air, so please feel free to add your comments in the chat. The chat is open, so if you want to interact with other chatters and a little bit later on with the panelists, then you can do that as well. So welcome to all my magnificent guests, all two of you tonight. How's it going?
Thank you. Good. It's very good.
Okay. Wonderful. And Dev, how are you?
It's going okay. I'm all right. I just walked in from work, so.
Just walked in from work, and Peach is a little tuckered out.
Yeah, she said she's tired and not really feeling up to doing the live stream.
Yeah, well, I can't blame her. So, there are a couple of things that we're going to talk about tonight. It's just a general topic discussion, just to have a chat, I guess, and talk about stuff that we talk about, so everybody else can listen in on too. We're just discussing this person in the chat who said that what was the comment? Let's see. The comment is, if you don't want to debate Live Life, who is quite on point on the topic of Islam, you could come to Germany. I used to like living here, but it's become quite shitty since the Muslims invaded. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. This other person asked me if I was scared to debate Live Life, and I said the reason why I'm not debating him is for the same reason that I don't drive to Utah to kill a cockroach. Just not on my radar, and a complete waste of time and effort. So if anybody else is wondering that, there's your fucking answer. So looks like Tommy is going to be here in a minute, so we'll have Tommy on, which will be fun. And somebody else is apologizing for being late, which I think is ironic and hilarious. So we were just talking about how if anybody has a different opinion from people who are taking the alarmist position on Islam, like the great Muslim migration, or what do they call it, the great Islamic migration into Europe, pushing propaganda and stuff. And Tommy actually made a video, or he copied a video on this, and I think that's probably what you were about to get at, weren't you, Dev?
What had happened was
what had happened was
here is the story. What happened was I saw the video, and in a Skype chat that I am a member of, the Skype chat's about 8 years old. It's been an ongoing, nonstop Skype chat for the last like 8 years.
Holy cow!
And yeah, it's called Cock. Is actually what it's called. It's the coalition of channel killers.
Is it eight years? That's one long cock. So.
Yeah, it's been around a long time, and Napalm is actually in that discussion also. He hasn't been in, I don't think, the entire 8 years, but he's been in there for the last few years, and every now and then he drops a link, and he dropped the link for Tommy's video. And I said, yeah, I watched it, unfucking believable, and somebody else in the chat had said that he watched it and he agreed with it. And I asked him exactly what it was that he agreed with. So he relayed a personal story. He lives in the UK, and he lives near a neighborhood that is primarily Muslim. And he said he was walking home the other night, and the police stopped him and harassed him. They gave him a hassle, and he described it as assault. And he blames the Muslim population for that. And I couldn't get him to make a real connection to these two ideas. Like, you were hassled by the police while walking home, therefore Muslims suck. And he's basically said this migration of Muslims into the UK is the reason for it, and it's affected his life because he was harassed by the police.
Does he think that maybe the police got more militant or strict because of Muslim immigration?
I think that's really the closest thing that I can come up with to a real connection between the two. And if that's the case, then I mean, I get that. But it doesn't really, the conclusion doesn't really follow.
He just says he wasn't doing anything to warrant police interaction.
Yeah, well, he said he wasn't, and I know him well enough. I don't think he was,
Mm-hmm.
but but then again, I don't know. I wasn't there. I
Yeah.
just thought it was odd that it was just like, I mean, he was describing things that are pretty routine in the United States. Something that, any of us walking down any city street in the U.S. might encounter. So not living in the UK, I don't know. I don't see what he was describing as being like a big deal. It sounds like something that happens all day in, day out here.
Yeah. What I've noticed is in urban areas, the police are all business, nonsense, and
Right.
in the rural areas, they're very relaxed.
Are you talking about in the United States?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they are kind of chill in the country areas. It's like, well, I guess we got a problem here. And in the city, it's like, fuck you. Or they're high. The cops seem more high-strung in the city, and probably for good reason, because
Yeah.
it's full of crime, and it's their job to make sure that it's not happening as much. And
All of my
there's too much there for
Right.
a simple conversation about.
But I can see the domino effect that he was, what I believe he was trying to get at. Maybe he lives in an urban area, and it is an urban area, but it was quiet. When he was a kid or whatever, and now that a community of mostly Muslim immigrants is there, crime has gone up, which caused the police to react a certain way, and now everybody who lives in the general area may now feel oppressed by the police presence because of the uptick in crime and everything else. Okay, if that's the domino effect you're describing, I get that. But being an American who lives near cities, who deals with this all the time, it still doesn't seem like a big deal. So I just thought it was kind of a stretch of a complaint to blame an entire demographic of people because you were harassed by the police one day.
Hey, Tommy.
How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm having camera issues, so I'm gonna have to not be on camera.
That's fine.
I just
Not a
made a
big
whole video, and it didn't come out right. So no. You can't see Tommy from the Bronx in his video. You can just hear him in this next one.
Really? That sucks. You're gonna post a video of just you and audio, huh?
Yeah. Well, what am I gonna do? Redo it over and lose the flavor and feel of it?
I don't know. Maybe it'll get better with age, like a good scotch.
Like you? Now you're old.
Yeah, now that I'm really fucking old. Yeah. I just had a
I-
birthday yesterday.
I have. Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know it was yesterday's birthday. Happy birthday!
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Too bad you couldn't. Your mom couldn't wait one more day so you could have been born on 420.
Yeah, that would have been great. But no. She had to crap me out on the 19th. So
Just couldn't wait.
just couldn't wait for the next day. And I was born at 5 o'clock, so it's only like
Yeah.
7 hours away. Jesus fucking Christ, Mom. Thanks for that.
PM. Okay.
So yeah, I had mentioned earlier in a different chat about Tommy's angry video. Want to talk about your angry video, Tommy?
Which one? They're all angry.
Wait, no, this one was like super angry. You were pissed off. What's the deal?
Which one? Which one are you talking about? The one I said,
I don't know, fuck you or something, fuck off or
you
go
can't
fuck
tell what to
yourself.
tell. Yeah, well, it's people that, telling me not to hang around with certain people as yourself. I already gave you the list. I'll say the list.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
Me,
Galen. Nope, Dan, you were not in there. Sea Beach and Galen and TJ. I'm not supposed to hang around or talk to any of these people. So these 4 people that are harassing me about it, I say that video was to that person. So those 4 people. One of them understood and said, was smart about it and said, you know what, yeah, I was wrong about that. You should be able to hang out and talk to whoever you want to hang out and talk to. And the 3 others are no longer associated with me, and I don't care. That's good.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's always good to kick people out of your life that are toxic.
Oh yeah, the other one was live life too. They didn't want me talking to live life either. So.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and I said this in the chat though. I mean, you should be able to fucking talk to and hang out with anybody you want, and not fear a backlash. And this goes for everybody. You should be able to have a conversation with anybody about anything without feeling that there's a backlash that you're associated with somebody.
Unfortunately, that's how a lot of simpleton brains work, though. They think that just because you talk to somebody that, you're associated with them, you're on the same page as them somehow, you condone what they believe or do.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. But then I watched a crazy fucking Tommy from the Bronx video.
Wow, you must have been happy all day watching my video.
Yeah, watch this, and I couldn't get through the whole thing. I got the gist of it, but I couldn't get through the whole thing because it was just whatever. But it was about this Muslim migration, and we were talking about earlier. You're laughing.
Yeah, of course. I already know what shit I got for that video already, even from Dev too.
Oh well, yeah, I mean, rightfully so. It was a fucking stupid propaganda piece of shit. But the thing that interests me is that I can't tell if you're serious or not. I can't tell if you're like, all right, folks, there's a massive problem in the world, and it's the Muslims who are migrating into Europe, and it'll soon be in the United States. I can't tell if you're serious or not.
Well, most of the time I shoot from the hip, and you know that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And I didn't research that video completely, 100%. But I do still think there's a problem. It's not all. I'm not going to say that there is a problem. There is a problem going on. But I didn't research that video 100%. Yeah, a lot of it is propaganda. I mean, I've talked to Debs about this video until like 3 o'clock in the morning. And, and he explained a lot of the stuff to me. And I was going to take it down. Deb said, don't take it down. I said, fuck it. I'll just leave it up. Okay.
Yeah, leave it up. Who gives a fuck?
Right. But some of that is a problem, though. Some of that is a problem.
I'm trying to figure out what the problem is, though. Like, I'm seriously. I'm just coming to this issue because I think it's so crazy. Just such a crazy idea that maybe there's some merit to it somewhere. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know where the problem could be.
One of my understandings of what is happening in some places in Europe where a large group of Muslims have recently moved in is that law enforcement, what would be like considered normal for the citizens of that area, things that have always been enforced by the law or social norms that have always been followed, are somewhat relaxed for Muslims because people are afraid of offending their religion or their culture or whatever, and allowing them to do things that typically most people wouldn't be allowed to do. And it comes across, if this really is happening, I don't know for sure, but that's what's being reported. So people are afraid that, there are Muslim communities that are following Islam instead of the law, and that the general population is in danger because the authorities refuse to do anything. Like I said, I don't know how true any of that is all it is people basically saying, I live in that area and yeah, I've seen that, or there are reports from dubious sources. You know, I mean, so what's true, what's not, I really at this point couldn't really say.
Okay, so I guess that's one of the issues that that perhaps Muslims have been getting preferential treatment because we are worried that we're going to offend their sensibilities. If that is occurring, it's fucking bullshit. And I mean, everybody needs to be held to the same standard. You can't, for instance, say, okay, well, my religion says that I can be with a 9-year-old girl sexually, or I can touch them in a way, and I shouldn't be held accountable to that. No, no.
Another complaint I've heard is that a lot of them, the immigrants, don't want to assimilate, and they actually want to change the Western culture rather than assimilate into the Western culture.
Okay, again, I think that any immigration situation needs to be the people who immigrate to the places where they're going have to abide by their rules. So it's the same thing. I mean, they're not going. If I rip off a loaf of bread in Saudi Arabia, or they catch me because I make a blog, a God-hating blog, or God-hating videos, which I do, and they say, well, we're going to hold you to the same standard as these fuckers over here and chop off your limbs or throw you in the slammer and sentence you to 1,000 lashes or something. They're not going to give me preferential treatment because I don't belong to their culture or I'm a non-believer, or would they? It certainly wouldn't happen in North Korea.
They don't give a fuck if they're called bigoted for doing anything like that to you. In fact, that's a compliment.
Like, you caught one of those Western motherfuckers who's talking bad about Islam. So
Yeah.
Good for you. Let's not lash him. Let's just kill him.
I actually probably think they would probably just hold you hostage and try to get the best out of you.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
I think someone in their own culture would get it first before you, actually.
Now, anytime a large group of people from any culture, ethnicity, society moves from one to another, there's always an impact. There's always, at the beginning, there's a certain amount of clash. That's normal and it's to be expected. But both the culture and the people that are moving into that culture, there's like give and take. So the culture is going to change. Society is going to change to accommodate them, or in some way, change because of their presence. At the same time, they should assimilate to some extent. I mean, it's normal. We see it here in the United States all the time. And if you look at New York City, Tommy knows this. Look at New York City. Every ethnic group that's moved through this country, for the most part, they started in New York and they left their mark. And then they spread outwards as generations go by, and 3 generations, 4 generations down the line, they're somewhere on a border with a picket sign screaming, "Keep out the immigrants." Yeah, it's just kind of the way things flow.
I don't know. What do you think, Tommy? I haven't heard why you think it's a problem yet.
I think it can be.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying it definitely will be, but I'd say we should be alert of the situation. If they could cause problems and populate as much as they're doing in Europe, I can't see why it won't happen here. Why wouldn't it? You give me the reason. I'll put it on you. Give me the reason why you think it would never happen here.
Why I think what would never happen?
That the Muslims could populate enough here where they could start changing laws and they could start doing a whole bunch of things here.
Nah. The United States have had religious tribunals for centuries.
Right.
That we've had Christian and Jewish and Muslim tribunals that govern over certain communities that handle stupid shit that has to do with their doctrine, with the edict and business matters and stuff. They can't impose any kind of criminal punishment. They can't.
I understand that. But look at the day and age we are in right now, where a brown paper bag is offensive. Okay, and that's a big problem to a bunch of people. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So why wouldn't you have your Black Lives Matter? Why wouldn't you have like Muslim Lives Matter start? You never know. I'm just using a hypothetical here.
Well,
start everything.
But that's what I was saying after the video was posted, Tommy. It was about regardless of who the people are or what their culture or religion is, when they move into a country like the United States, the social structure, the institutions that make up our society have not collapsed, and they don't collapse. When the institutions of the society collapse, then you've got a problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to suddenly override the Constitution. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
You can't say that for sure.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
People have been fighting to override the
every day. We're changing Bill of Rights every day.
Oh, hold on a minute.
Things all the time.
Wait. Because we're not. The last amendment to the Constitution, I don't know when it was. Let's see. Latest.
Damn, I was going to say something. I forgot when you asked me that. Damn.
You'll think of it, Tommy.
I'm getting old too. If somebody kills somebody in the street, regardless of their motivation, whether it be religious or just being psycho or whatever, if somebody kills somebody in the street, that person is going to be accountable.
Hey, Tommy, I thought it was something like this, but then I was thrown off by it. The most recent amendment was submitted by Congress to the states for ratification on September 25th, 1789. The amendment became part of the United States Constitution on May 7th, 1992, which is the 27th Amendment. And that's the salary of Congress. It's the amendment dealing with the salary of Congress. You can't fuck with the Constitution. You just can't. And I mean, our Constitution is the most copied, the most emulated constitutions in the world because of its fairness and because of its championing of liberty and of freedom and of due process of law. That's one of the most important parts of our Constitution, is the due process part. So you're not going to get a Sharia court that's going to be able to override a United States court, a local or a federal court, and saying, I mean, and you could bring suit against people and really fuck them. I mean, there's just, because of due process of law and a number of other parts of our Constitution, it's not going to happen here. It's just not possible, Tommy.
All right, so what do you do if they get rid of the Second Amendment? What do you do when they do that? That's what they're trying to do now. So what
That can't. I mean, that would be Civil War territory.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a revolution in the United States.
Okay, exactly. But what would happen there? The government will what? To destroy the people who are going against them? I mean, that would be too difficult.
No, I don't think it would. The government has pretty big guns, and lots of them, and they've got more training and experience and people than could join in or would join in an uprising against the government because they were not allowed Sharia to override local or because we want to do away with the Second Amendment. It's just not going to fucking happen. And are you worried that the guns are going to get taken away and then all of the shit's going to happen in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to do it, though, aren't they?
Well, people have been fighting to repeal the Second Amendment for, I mean...
Right, I'm not saying that Muslims...
long time.
I'm not saying this is going to happen with the Muslims in the next 10 years. I'm talking about the next 100, 150.
I don't think that the... I mean, we've got a fucking $20 bill that's changing, right? It was announced today. Harriet Tubman's going to be on the $20 bill instead of Jackson. And they're going to finalize the design in 10 years, and then it's going to take them another 10 years to put it into circulation. So you're looking at 14 years between when they decide to change the face on the $20 bill and when it actually gets changed. I mean, the stuff doesn't happen at the speed of light. If you're
The
talking
sad thing
about,
is, I was gonna say the sad thing is by then we probably won't be using paper money much
yeah,
anymore.
that's the other shitty part. Is well,
Yeah.
it'll all be credits. They'll all be digital credits.
Yeah,
Or
2029.
bitcoins or something.
2029. That's when it'll happen. There'll be no more paper money.
But yeah, no, it's. I
What a
mean,
month.
that's not something you got to worry about, Tommy. I think that I think that common sense gun reform is going to happen. I think that as technology gets better and lighter and more effective, we'll have all kinds of shit that will be able to do more for gun control, which is you buy a gun legally and nobody else can use that gun but you. Have you ever seen Judge Dredd and their the judges' guns that every time they fire, nobody else can fire their gun because it takes a DNA sample of your body every time you pick it up, and it attaches like this DNA ribbon to each bullet that gets fired, so you can tell exactly who fucking fired the bullet. They're
Cool.
shit. Yeah, I mean, it seems far-fetched, science fiction, right? I mean, we used to look at birds in the sky and say, "Let's fly like them," and people are like, "You fucking nuts! We'll
Well,
never fly. I'm gonna go to that big thing in the sky up there that's real bright occasionally." Are you kidding me? What the fuck? You're crazy. It's science fiction. This
There are
shit's it's gonna happen. Gun reform will happen. Gun control will happen, and people will still get to keep their guns. But it's gonna get a lot more difficult for criminals to be able to procure and use them.
there are guns now
Wait,
that
you know,
unless it matches your fingerprint. They already have
Mhm.
fingerprint reading technology for guns. So.
okay, but the point of that is, okay, fine. You'll be able to get a gun. You're the only one who could use it with your DNA and everything else, and then you snap, and then you start shooting and killing people anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not 100. It's not foolproof, no matter how you look at it.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. But I mean, you've got how many percent of the population of the world is psychotic, like clinically psychotic? Isn't it like 3% of the population of the world is psychotic?
I don't know. It's 100% on the panel right now.
Oh. I mean,
75, 75.
you've got gun culture, which is a much more impressive danger, I think, in the United States than Muslims will ever be.
Oh, I will agree that this would be the hardest place to do it. I mean, I'm not saying that, but
Also, we have a huge geographic advantage compared to Europe as far as mass Muslim immigration goes.
Yeah, I think
We got
that's true.
ocean. We got an ocean to get across.
And plus, I mean, it's getting better. And we've done. Just think about it, man. I mean, with all the attacks that have been in Europe, and all the places that have been bombed, and all the places that have been shot up, and people who have not been killed, but there were terrorist attacks. Of all those places, we've had what in the last 10 years? We've had two people that have become radical and have killed people or tried to kill people. Because we had the one with the Draw Muhammad thing where nobody got killed except for the dumbasses who started the fucking thing, and then you had the incident in California. And anybody who sees these incidents as increasing and becoming viral in the United States is just, how do you have time to listen to that? With the amount of people that are in the United States and the amount of crimes that are perpetrated by other individuals, United States citizens who were born and raised in the United States, how can you even equate that to something that even requires an alarmist position? It's definitely something that is cause for concern, but it's so many other things in the United States override the potential dangers of a sudden a sudden influx of Muslim immigrants.
well, I mean, I'm not saying being an alarmist. I'm saying to beware, and that's it. I'm not saying to go out there and start fucking holding up signs and doing some stupid shit. I'm just saying being aware of your surroundings. There's nothing wrong with being aware of your surroundings.
No, I agree. You should definitely always be aware of your surroundings, and if something looks fucked up, you should say something about it.
Right.
I mean, we don't live in a fucking sunshine and rainbows cookie cutter world. nasty shit goes down, and it's not only Muslims who perpetrate things; it's Americans who perpetrate them. So you should always keep a weather eye on things that you think are a little strange.
What do you think about like things like prison populations in places of Europe? Believe France is one of them, where it's majority Muslim prisoners.
The majority of, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything on that. If it's true, then there's cause for concern. If unless it just happens that Muslim countries just cannot assimilate. It's just not gonna fucking happen. I do think that the ideology of Islam and the culture of Islam is incompatible with some cultures. The ideologies of Islam are incompatible with United States culture. So it wouldn't surprise me if Muslims in other countries took more liberties in other countries because they're more free and ended up getting their asses handed to them or got thrown in the clink for it. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look at more stuff regarding the numbers of people who are imprisoned in other countries who are Islamic.
Hey, Richie.
Is he here?
He came in and then left and then back in.
He's here and now he's gone and then he's here and he's gone?
Yeah, like Dev.
Ah, there must be some kind of an issue with the room. Probably my fault.
Probably. And he's out.
And he's gone again. She's trying to get in.
Have you heard this latest thing about the 9/11 with these 28 pages that has to do with Saudi Arabia?
I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they said don't release these pages or else. And Obama went to Saudi Arabia today and they sent the mayor of some crap city over there to greet him.
Right, and then they said if Saudi Arabia said if they release them 28 pages, they're going to pull $750 billion out of the United States economy.
Fucking let them.
Yeah.
Let them.
Fuck
I mean, it would be good for the United States economy if they pulled out because it would force us to prop up our infrastructure. It's not like we don't have this giant oil reserve and that we're not pumping the majority of our oil from the United States now, because I think we are, isn't it? Aren't we now getting the majority of the oil that the United States consumes from the United States?
And
I think so.
last time I checked, we were also the world's largest producer of oil also. So, fuck them. I agree. Who needs an ally that makes you look bad all the fucking time anyway?
Or who fucking holds a gun to your head and says do this or else. Fuck off, Get the fuck out of here.
But that's my point, Josh.
What?
That's my point. Where fucking shit could happen like that. When was the fucking United States says, oh wait a minute. Okay, well we won't release them pages because you know what? You do have $750 billion in our economy. We'll bend over for that. We won't release them. I mean that's fucked up by itself. Just if the United States decided to do it that way.
They're not gonna.
Well, I mean,
they better not.
They're not gonna. They have an obligation. I think they're required by law to release them if they happen in a federal court, unless it's like closed testimony, in which case they don't have to. They're under obligation to not release them. But if they don't have any restrictions in releasing the documents, they've got to be released.
If anybody thinks that Saudi Arabia is an ally for us, it's fucking ridiculous. They're a fucking problem. They cause problems.
One of the problems, one of the things that has kept us, a couple of things that actually has kept us in a relationship with them, is their willingness to allow us to use military bases or at least staging areas in their country in order to do a lot of the things that we've been doing in the Middle East and the amount of money they have invested in our economy. But yeah, both of those things we really do need. So I would be like, yeah, fuck you guys. Peace out.
Yeah, but the United States government pays for the Saudi Arabians to build those bases. So I mean, it's a win-win for them, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, the United States seldomly gets involved in things that are overseas like that aren't mutually beneficial. Um, but if it turns out that we have to kind of wash our hands of it and tell Saudi Arabia to go fuck itself, they can join the coalition of Islamist fuckhead countries that have a target on their back at all times.
Yeah, and what do you think will happen? Let's say if that did happen, Josh.
Yeah.
We fuck you, take your 750 billion, which I hope we do, and what do you think as far as terrorist attacks on this fucking on our soil will happen? You think it would happen a lot more?
Maybe those would be considered an act of war then.
Yeah, but why would that happen more? I mean, do you know how badly we've pissed off Iran or Korea for that matter, or the Palestinians, or even Israel to a certain extent? I mean, even though we're sucking on Israel's dick constantly, there are certainly things that, especially this administration, there could be some reciprocity for. We've already pissed off pretty much every Islamic nation, so it's not like we're pals, you know. Especially with Iran, and Iran is a huge one, but Egypt is on that list too, and Malaysia is going to be on that list too if they keep fucking doing what they're doing.
I basically see Saudi Arabia as America's Binky.
Why do you say that?
Because
Yeah.
we'd be better off if we just spit it out and left it on the floor.
Yeah, I think that's kind of true. Like, how can you in one breath say, oh, these people are our friends, we benefit from them economically, they own a ton of shit over here in the United States, and they beat people to death, you know, for fake adultery. They beat people to death for writing things on blogs. They chop people up, all that shit. Yeah, all that we can just overlook it, you know, as long as we're getting paid, as long as the money is still flowing in. I'm not one of those people. I mean, I've always said fuck Saudi Arabia. Fuck Saudi Arabia. If I haven't made it clear about Saudi Arabia and my feelings towards Saudi Arabia, it's a big fuck you. No matter what happens with the 28 pages and the 9/11 report. And I hope we do release them, and I hope it does show that Saudi Arabia had some kind of government involvement in 9/11. I hope it does fucking reveal that, because it's all the more reason for us to make that fucking country a black dot on the globe.
15 of them. Yeah, 15 of them guys came from over there. So, you know, what are they so
what are they
worried about?
what are they scared of? The only thing that they can be scared of is some person that's high up in the Saudi government who either helped some of these people or was directly related to them in some kind of operational sense, and that's all it's going to take.
Well,
I think a majority of Americans would stand up and say, "Fuck Saudi Arabia," and like they should have been doing for the last 40 years.
I don't get what Nick Dolgi is saying here. Saudi Arabia is actively promoting Salafi Islam, worst jihadist movement, worse than now. It will not be. Tommy is wrong here. How am I wrong? I don't get what I'm wrong with. We pretty much all agree about Saudi Arabia here on the panel, so well, I don't know why I'm just being figured out, but
Maybe it's because you're a fucking asshole.
well, that's good then. That's a good thing. But my question to you, Josh, is why you seem to be a little bit bitter about Israel. What's up with you with Israel?
Oh, fuck Israel. I have no love for Israel, seriously. I don't understand. I don't understand the love affair that this country has with I just, you know what? Fuck that shit. I'm so sick of that shit.
Yeah, I think that I made a video a long time ago called "Bulldoze Jerusalem," and I think that the world would just be a much better place if that whole area, that entire city, was irradiated, so no one would be able to step foot in it for the next 500 years. I mean, people just gathering at this fence on the border going, "I miss you, Jerusalem. Oh, there's nothing here. Fuck. Might as well go back home." But of course, that would spark a fucking world war probably, and we'd get involved, and Great Britain would get involved, and all of the Middle Eastern countries would get involved. But I don't know, man. Sometimes you just gotta let war come, especially if a great deal of people in the world are suffering because of an ideology that spreads because of power mongering, which I think is the majority of what Islam does, manipulation and power mongering. But I mean, they use it in a violent way more so than Christians do. But Christians use it too. They just got to the party a little earlier than the Muslims did.
Another thing I heard that seems to make sense to me is that Islam tends to be much more of a problem than Christianity because of the political component of it. So you have this religious devotion to a political movement, and that's a really bad fucking combination.
Yeah,
especially
I agree.
when you're talking about like a fascist type ideology.
Yeah, theocracy has. I mean, just doesn't fucking work. Especially when you have that dictatorship / fascism aspect to it, when it becomes the cancer of the world. We've seen it happen time and again. Hell, we've seen it happen with secular dictators, where they they promote one doctrine one year and then they flip and do it the next year to suit their purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But yeah, Tommy, I wouldn't worry about a Muslim invasion. I'm kind of tickled by it.
Well, I wouldn't say it would be a Muslim invasion. I'd say it'd be a Muslim trickle.
A Muslim trickle.
Yeah, as they trickle on in.
Is that like an STD you have to go get some penicillin for? And
You know, I don't know. You let me know. You have.
hey, don't look at me, huh? My dick's never been leaky.
Yeah, right. It's got holes all over like Swiss cheese. You piss, it comes out all over the place.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, there and Boris in the chat is saying, "What the fuck, Meridian Frost? We already have a Muslim invasion, and a refugee crisis. So a refugee crisis equals an invasion? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding it where the logic is there.
I have
the concern is a lot of the concern is there's a lot of people who aren't refugees going in with the refugees.
Okay.
And
what?
That's how they're getting in, by pretending to be refugees.
So, what does that mean for us?
Oh, not us. I'm for people in Europe. The main concern now is Europe.
So, Grappling Ignorance, have you joined us?
I have, yes.
Oh, goody. How you doing, man?
I'm all right.
Good.
How's everybody?
Oh, we're doing fantastically. We're talking about them Islams.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah. Did you have anything to add, sir?
Fuck no.
Drop the bomb.
I was every time I mentioned the word Islam or Muslim, I'm reminded that I am a staunch advocate of theocracy, Islamism, and that I'm an apologist for all of Muhammad kind. Peace be upon him.
See, that's the evidence right there.
Yeah. I'm just a big old Muslim lover.
I know it. I know it.
And yeah, so I've intentionally said nothing on the subject.
Why?
And since I got here, because you
the
all
whole thing you just listed off. And
yeah.
all those reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, remember when you visited my house, Richie?
Which
What?
which time?
The last time.
Right.
Your prayer rug. You forgot your prayer rug, and your Quran was wrapped up in it. I'm gonna FedEx it to you.
Oh, that's great.
See.
You know, it's been a while.
Yeah, you actually left a tunic at my house too, so
Yeah.
I got
And
to
a
figure out how to
machete.
get that back.
Your machete and your Uzi.
Yeah, I was gonna say the AK-47 is still here, but I'm keeping that.
Oh wait, they wouldn't use Uzi. That's Israeli. Yeah, the AK.
Yeah, they'd use the AK.
Least
for sure.
convenient time to share this information with me, and it's to the point of it's downright unprofessional, is what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, you could have mailed this stuff to me months ago.
Yeah, I apologize.
Well, forgiven. I forgive.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So, moving along. What do you want to talk about? Grappling ignorance?
Well, I'm sorry I got here late.
No, that's fine.
I kept waiting for. I mean, I saw that the description of the show was "So I'm late, bah." So I guess I echo those sentiments.
Yeah, damn it! I was about to go into a tirade about how come everyone else can be on time but you?
Yeah, because it's in the subject of the show. So really, I'm embodying the spirit of the show's description.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I kept checking for a link to the show.
Way before.
Yeah,
way before, like when it was supposed to be on.
Right.
And it just wasn't there. And you assumed, since we didn't have a show last week, that I was just off doing something else.
Kind of. And then I fell asleep waiting for the link to the show. And,
I see.
And woke up an hour later in a haze with several messages from multiple sources.
Well, you had yourself a little nap.
Yeah, something like that.
What do you do when one of your students is taking a little nap during one of your lectures?
Interesting question.
I recognize that I've probably been boring as fuck, and there are probably a number of factors that led to them falling asleep in my class to begin with, and set about ways to move the class along while addressing that individual.
Okay.
That's
okay.
I don't have anything to work with.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just leaving no avenue.
Right. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed
draw
to
a penis on their face like it says in the chat from Cat's Eye?
Oh, I guess that's a.
Yeah, I think that would probably be frowned upon.
Yeah.
that might be frowned upon just a tad.
Oh, in this case, that would require Josh to draw a penis on his monitor, and then the joke would kind of be on him.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Did I miss the question segment?
No, we haven't asked the questions yet.
Because I got here around 9 o'clock, and you guys were in the middle of your discussion.
We were trying to solve Islam.
Yeah.
So.
If you guys would have done that before I got here, that'd have been great.
Yeah, so I real quick wanted to say hi to somebody in the chat. I want to say hi to Billy Bong. Everybody say hi to Billy.
Hi, Billy.
Billy Bong is somebody I encountered on Twitter. We had a back and forth, a lengthy back and forth actually, where I called him almost every insult that I had. Insult for him.
They were going at it.
And he responded in kind.
He did indeed.
I was actually impressed by his tenacity. There aren't too many that keep up with me, and him and a couple of his buddies actually did quite well. It got to the point where I followed them all on Twitter, although I disagree with them a great deal on a lot of issues. They argue the way I do, so I kind of like them.
Wait a minute.
I disagree passionately with them on a lot of issues, but I'm like, these guys are okay. I mean,
wait a minute, Dev. Wait a minute. Time out.
Uh-oh.
Fucking, I put the video out. The people Dev is arguing with, he follows. Dev fucking unfollows me on Twitter. What the fuck is that?
Well, it could be because you're a giant asshole, Tom.
What the
Tommy,
fuck?
I didn't unfollow you. I wasn't following you to begin with.
Yeah, you
Oh.
were. I said it.
I didn't unfollow you because I wasn't following you.
Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't.
Dev, you were.
And Tommy says, Dev, you were. Dev, back to Tommy. Tommy,
That's
back
why.
to Dev. Yes, you were. No,
No,
you
you
weren't.
weren't. Yes, you was.
It's
No,
back
I
to
wasn't.
yes, you
No, I
were.
wasn't. Oh my God, this is the epic debate of the century. You did this. No, I didn't. You did this. Oh my God, folks, I'm sitting here at the edge of my seat and gripping on tightly.
Well, if you didn't, fucking follow me now, then, motherfucker.
You can't just tell somebody to follow you. What the
Well,
fuck?
you can. It does. It's an asshole thing to do.
Yeah, it's just kind of douchey, you know. You should say, you know what? I like you. I respect your opinion. Follow me if it suits you. You know? And I guarantee you would get a follow. Guarantee it.
Nah, that'd be lame.
What? Behaving like an adult?
Well, you start, I will.
There you go. There you go. Holy shit, Kurt Schilling was fired. The bloody sock man himself.
Yes, he was. Good. Red Sox suck.
Fuck you. The Red Sox are great.
Fuck that bullshit.
But Kurt Schilling is a fucking idiot. So Kurt Schilling was fired, and for those of you who don't know, Kurt Schilling was a pitcher for the Red Sox.
Yeah, somewhat.
Somewhat. Get the fuck out of here. Kurt Schilling was a great pitcher.
Yeah, 3 great years. He's the greatest pitcher. Okay.
Did I fucking say the greatest pitcher? No.
He was a great pitcher.
I said he was a great pitcher.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
Another epic debate.
And then Josh comes back and saying yes he was. Then Tommy says no he wasn't. Then Josh says yes he was. Then Tommy says no he wasn't. Folks, it's getting to be too late.
The average pitcher who just happened to have blood on his sock that made him fucking popular.
Yeah, it wasn't the fact that he beat the shit out of a particular team and stumped them at the plate. No, couldn't be because of that, Tommy.
It's not because of that.
Anything but that.
Not that.
Anyway, Kurt Schilling, fuckhead that he is, got fired from his job being an announcer at ESPN because he made disparaging remarks about transgender people or a transgender person. Let's see.
It's all walk on eggshells.
Wait, he made disparaging remarks regarding their transgenderism, or just the fact that this was a transgender person? Because I think the issue is if you're making insults, about transgenderism toward someone who's transgender, but I don't think that transgender people themselves should be, immune from getting, insulted like the rest of us. That's fucking stupid. I hate it that you can't, get into an argument with someone of a different demographic without being accused of being a racist or a sexist or a transphobe.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. He posted some picture. Let's see. I'm trying to find the picture he posted and see. Let's see this image that he posted.
There's a great bit about that in one of the earlier King of the Hill episodes where Hank Hill's new neighbor Khan, Hank is getting all this criticism about you can't hate him. He's Asian, and the people will say that we're racist if you hate him. And he's like, I don't hate him because he's Asian. Basically, his argument is, I hate him because he's an asshole. And what kind of country is this when I'm not allowed to hate my own neighbor without being accused of being a racist?
Yeah.
So this picture is kind of funny, and kind of goes dark matter to what you were saying. It's hold on, I'll post a link to it in the chat. I think it's funny. I can't believe he got fired over this.
Which chat?
I'm posting it on the side now. Apparently, you got fired for posting that picture.
Fire Kurt Schilling. Let him in to the rest. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So the picture, for all of you folks who can't see what we're looking at, says "Let him in!" exclamation mark. To the restroom with your daughter, or else you're a narrow-minded, judgmental, unloving, racist bigot who needs to die. And there's a picture of I think that's a fairly popular picture of a transgender dude who's got the gotta get him fucking explain this. But it's hilarious.
I think ESPN should give him a raise for that.
Of course you do, Tommy. Jesus fucking Christ. But I don't know. But it just goes to the culture, doesn't it? Dark matter? Isn't that what you're talking about?
What do you
Because
mean
isn't it obvious that he's just pissed off at people who are saying that if you have this opinion, then you're just an absolute piece of shit who needs to die. Like, you just take it way overboard and over dramatize it.
Yeah, but he could have done it in a much better way, I think. You can do stuff like that without painting somebody with that kind of a brush, you know, with the, like.
Well, I guess that's the thing. He's not painting somebody. He's painting an entire demographic.
Right. That's what I mean.
You think he needs to get fired for that picture, Dev?
I don't know. I think getting fired, I think, is a little extreme. I don't think that it should be ignored or let go. I mean, it's a pretty ugly thing that he's saying. I don't know about fired. I mean, I don't know. I look at things from a small guy type perspective, and when you get fired, you lose your life. You know what I mean? You lose your livelihood.
Right.
And that hurts. So I don't know. I think firing somebody is too much of a knee-jerk reaction sometimes today.
You know, the shitty part about it, too, is they probably asked him to resign, and he probably said, "Get the fuck out of here. I'm not resigning over that picture." And then they shit-canned him. So, anybody else have an opinion about that, besides Tommy thinking that ESPN should have given the guy a raise?
I'm kidding. I'm tired of walking on fucking eggshells, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you don't have to walk on the eggshells, Tommy.
Yeah, right.
What? You don't.
Okay.
You think that you still have to walk on eggshells?
Sure. Anything you say will be held against you.
In the court of public opinion?
Exactly.
My problem is that anything you don't say will be held against you, because just because you're a straight white man, there's people who say by default you're racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic. They all are. All men, all white people, all men, all cis people, and to me that's like, okay, well that just completely removes the meaning from the terms racism, sexism, transphobic, because if everybody is, then nobody is. It's like, what does it mean to call, like, if you say Donald Trump is a racist, well, what does that mean? All white people are racist, so of course he is. And who cares, by the way, because there's millions of us. So now it doesn't. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying these things, and it doesn't even matter what you say now. You can just be some average Joe Schmo, and you're going to be slapped with the racism label just because of the way you were fucking born. And the irony is completely lost on the people who are saying this. So now you do hear some people saying a lot of blatantly racist shit, because why the fuck not? If you're going to get called a racist anyway, you might as well.
Yeah, I don't take that position.
No, I know, but a lot of people do.
So apparently, there's a new news story on CNN about the Obama's visit, and it's saying that they cleared the air with Saudi Arabia. Apparently, they had a discussion, and a paragraph in here says, but the two leaders glossed over some of the thorniest matters, including a Saudi threat to dump U.S. assets if Obama signs into law a bill that could make the kingdom liable for damages stemming from the September 11th terror attacks. And I didn't even know that was going on.
You know what would be funny is if they just went ahead and did it, and then the lawsuits amounted up to like $750 billion. We got the money anyway. Okay.
You're like, fuck off. I don't think it's going to be that much, but I think it will be a significant amount if we press the matter.
$750 billion. That would just about cover the DOD.
And
the Department of Defense for 1 year. Just 1 year, by the way.
I had to address somebody in the chat said, Islam is a religion of peace, according to Grappling Ignorance. And then he said, never mind. That was another Muslim apologist.
What?
You're not supposed to talk about Islam anymore, Richie.
I know. Apparently,
see what happens?
Apparently, that time that I said Islam is a religion of peace, somebody quoted it. Oh wait, no, that was some other Muslim apologist, which is what I am. Apparently.
We all know that you are a Muslim apologist.
I just need to clear up that the way that citing people works is that they actually have to say the thing that you say they said.
Ah, yeah. That's actually important.
Yeah.
People should.
No,
he just typed, I got him. It hurts, his voice.
Okay.
That's the voice of someone who just woke up.
Yeah, I'm sorry if it hurts.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think we're going to move into the question segment. We have somebody who is usually on the show but hasn't been on in quite some time. Tommy from the Bronx is here. So if you have any questions for Tommy from the Bronx or anybody else on the panel, please feel free to ask away.
I missed one show. What are you talking about?
One show? You haven't been on since like February.
Yeah. Are you high?
Well, Meridian Frost also insisted the last time that this is not a bi-weekly show. It's a weekly show.
It is a weekly show, damn it! And let's not forget. Let's not forget.
And then he canceled it the next week. So missing one show does mean like a month, but that's not Tommy's fault.
See, that's hyperbole right there. So I appreciate if you apologize for that, because
I only apologize for Islam. Okay. Well, if you have a bi-weekly show and you miss 1 week, then it happens once a month. Am I wrong?
No,
Am I wrong?
No, but I mean, no, you're just an asshole.
I think he's spot on.
That figures. If you have a bi-weekly show and you miss one show, it happens once a month. That's kind of simple.
See what happens when you argue with a teacher?
You see what happens?
No, but I have a weekly show. It's not bi-weekly. It's weekly.
Oh, okay. Well, let's rediscuss the terms of something.
Let's rediscuss how many shows there have been and how many I've missed.
Okay. Well, you haven't missed any of them because you determine when they happen.
That's kind of true, but
we haven't had them without you, so.
No, but me saying that they're going to occur on Wednesday at 8 o'clock.
Also true.
Every Wednesday at 8 o'clock,
Ooh,
and it
not
doesn't
every
happen on.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I say every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock we have this show.
And then you
what I want to know is, why does Richie seem like he's against a show that's bi?
Oh, see,
Huh?
there we go. There we
Huh?
go.
Actually,
And now you're transphobic,
except I'm not against it, and I'd be fine with a bi-weekly show.
and you're an MRA.
Just not a show that claims to be weekly when it is bi-weekly, especially when someone's getting blamed for their lack of attendance.
I never blamed anybody for their lack of attendance.
I'm sorry, perhaps I misinterpreted. Tommy, did you feel like
Perhaps you did.
like someone accused you of not being here, which would be attending?
Yeah, I felt that. But you remember one thing, GI?
Uh-huh.
One of the shows, yeah, Meridian Frost was here, but he was giggling through the whole show. So
That's true. Yeah.
Giggling. What was?
I wasn't giggling because I thought things were funny. I was giggling because I was happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when he fell in love. That's right.
Yeah, that's. But I'm still happy about that, and I still giggle about it. So.
And I'm still right. I told you so.
So you've made no improvement.
None. No, none whatsoever. And if she was in the room with me, she's probably listening in the other room right now, smiling and thinking, yeah, we're in trouble.
If she were here, that's the subjunctive case, my friend. If she were.
See? It's Keno. I'm just, he does it to everybody.
Oh, well, everybody about whom I care.
I could bring up Wittgenstein and argue about... Never mind. I'm not going to argue about any of this stuff.
That's good.
Anyway.
How come she didn't want to be on the show?
Because she hates the show and pretty much everybody on it.
That's a fair point.
That's about accurate.
So she doesn't want to be on.
I hate the show too.
It's okay. Yeah. So does the majority of the viewing audience.
True.
People love this show. Whatever. All right, so we got into question time, and we're ready for your questions. So I'm sorry if we haven't been reading the questions.
Oh, I got one right there.
Especially grappling, he feeds.
Yeah, wait, what does that mean? What am I feeding?
I don't know.
Yourself, most likely.
I do. I mean,
but I know what she's talking about, and so does he.
Wait, to whom is he referring here?
I'm sorry?
I don't understand who or what I'm feeding when she said he feeds. Am I missing something here?
It might have to do with League. I'm not sure.
Don't
quote me.
Oh my God! How much you guys gotta stop talking about Dota already? My God!
Wow, this guy.
Yeah. No.
Someone wants me to say something, so I have to say it.
Say it, Tommy.
Here we go.
Fuck Islam.
Okay.
There we
well
go.
done.
Feel good about yourself?
You feel good about yourself there? It's a common thing when famous atheists die. It just seems really... Okay, that's not a question. The audience are live life sycophants. Wow, you're giving them a lot of credit there. Is live life scum? No. It's just boring and stupid. More questions.
I feel like they're
hard from that.
What's that?
Don't tell Tommy that his voice aroused you. He doesn't need that
too bad.
Ego inflation.
So, I'm scrolling to see if anybody posted other questions. Do.
I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll count the fucking moments.
Go fuck yourself.
Good answer.
Go snack on your cannoli.
Got a large cannoli right here.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Yeah, nobody has asked a single fucking question. Well, I mean, there's been
question right there. Are ideas made
Why is dark matter so sexy?
Just born that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Books have been written about that matter and how to possibly replicate it, but it hasn't been successfully reproduced in laboratory conditions yet. Are ideas made of matter?
Are ideas made
Let me tell you something, Green Ghost. That doesn't matter.
Okay, that was really bad.
Doesn't
All right.
matter.
Let's see. Hello, all, and especially wonderful hello to you, Grappling Ignorance.
Oh, that's nice.
Why is a raven like a writing desk? Skip my question statement. Damn you all. Shay Ote, or Shk Ote.
Somebody wanted to know
Shote.
how we would address somebody who accused us of racism for criticizing a religion, Islam.
Yeah, that's easy to do. I mean, any ethnicity can be a member of a religion. So I mean, I usually just shrug those questions off as sophomoric and gainsaying. Really, I mean, it's stupidity, ignorance.
Yeah. See, the racists, people who are racists, who what they do is they mistakenly attack a Sikh guy. They see somebody with a wrap around their head, or they're with dark skin.
Let's call it
and
a turban, please. Let's call it a
a
turban.
turban, and they attack somebody because they think that they're Muslim based on their race. I mean, sure, but if you're just talking about the religion or the political ideology, or and it has nothing to do with race. Anybody can hold it. There can be a white Muslim, a black Muslim. It doesn't matter. If that can't be applied to your reasoning, then racism should not even come into the conversation. If it does, then they're just trying to shut the conversation down.
And there's this definition. I think there are two general definitions of racism. The one that I understand is racism, which is the feeling that certain races are inferior or superior to others, and acting and treating people in accordance to that feeling, that their race is something that makes them inferior or superior, or that your own race generally makes you superior to other people. And then there's this newer definition that I've heard the last few years, which defines into existence that only minority ethnicities can be, or only majority ethnicities can possibly be racist, and that any non-majority race members must not be racist, because it's a systematic structure of repression. So I've been insisted that if you are black in America, it's impossible for you to be racist, because you're a minority in the system, and systematically things are against you, and therefore you cannot be racist. Whereas if you are a white American, you must be racist. You are, because you benefit from a system wherein you have a racial majority. And I feel that just deeply muddies the water of actually dealing with racism. And it pushes away so many allies, and it speaks to the point that Dark Matter was addressing earlier, that, well, if I'm automatically a racist, no matter what, there's nothing that I can do, and I'm shut out of a conversation, and just by having a certain skin tone, I think this is the irony that he was speaking to, you're born into a skin tone, and then you're hated for it. That seems more in line with what I understand racism to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and if this newer definition becomes the accepted one, then there's going to have to be new terminology for the old definition of racism. And
Right.
The new definition of racism will essentially become meaningless.
Well, I think it is, and I think it's pointless. I don't know what the productivity of it is, if it's done in an effort to give some kind of empowerment or strength to minority groups. I think it's a shameful way of doing so, or attempting to do so. I think it has the opposite effect. I don't think it makes people like you more when when you are putting yourself in a shield from criticism, and you're trying to define your way into that shield, and when you accuse other people of things, it can be very frustrating to to somebody who has no beef with your entire ethnicity, has no problem with your race, doesn't even care about those sort of things, and you just automatically accuse them of being racist. And at some point, we have to look at drawing a line between different levels of racism. You know, just being white in America, for example, there are people that, like he was saying earlier, that for them that's racist. You're white, and therefore you're racist, which is extreme. I'm not saying this is what the majority of people say, but it comes up, and that's a problem. And we're going to compare this along the spectrum of what qualifies somebody as being racist. So if we call somebody racist for being a majority ethnicity, how then do we describe somebody that burns a cross in your yard or lynches somebody for being a different ethnicity? Do we use the same word to describe those activities?
No,
I think that, and this it's not like there's a clear place to draw that line, but I think we can find a reasonable one that doesn't end with if you are a majority ethnicity equals racist.
And here, another thing that definition does too is like what you're talking about with the KKK. If racism requires institutional power, then the KKK cannot be called racist, because the KKK has negative institutional power. The moment you're outed as KKK, you lose power. You can't be elected to public office. You could even be fired. You're untouchable. You're a pariah. So as a group, the KKK can't be called racist under that definition. It can't be called
I'm pretty sure they just categorize it based on your ethnicity, not based on your popularity. Your point is well taken by me, but yeah,
your power. That's what it's supposed to be. Is you're supposed to be able to have institutional power in order to be able to be a racist or a sexist, which is ridiculous. I mean, it's a misunderstanding of the word racist. The suffix "ist" has like 6 different meanings, and racism is categorized under ideology, and they're conflating it with the definition for system. Racism is an ideology.
A number of back and forth with people doing the whole, institutional racism. It is the only racist, the only way to be racist, or the only thing that qualifies as racist. I had a conversation with the guy. He was an Asian. I believe he was probably more not what most people think of as Asian, not like Oriental, not Chinese, not more of Middle Eastern, right? But he's from Asia, Asian guy, who hit me up talking about how he loves white people because they're so exotic and their food is so interesting. And I'm like, dude, like, what are you talking about? This is a pretty bizarre conversation. And he said, I'm just trying to, treat you the way that white people treat my people. Like, okay, but what does that have to do with me? Well, what bearing does that have on me? You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. And he goes, yeah, but I would like to get to know you because, white people are just so interesting and fascinating. And your music is just so exotic. And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty fucked up, man. You're pretty racist. He says, no, I can't be racist because I'm not white. So it's a pretty bizarre way of approaching things. It's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. the opening, it sounds like he would be, and I don't know the context of this, but it sounds like he's trying to make a point about how some people refer to other ethnic groups. They'll say things like, I like Latino people, and their music and their culture is great, and therefore I'm interested in them. And even though that is supposed to be complimentary, that it can sound like it can seem racist to the person receiving it, because
And
there's an expectation of certain things about someone based on their ethnic background.
and
Right.
he should have talked to somebody who actually said those things then, instead of just some random guy on the internet.
Right.
Yes. If that was his point, then he should probably
Yeah.
direct it towards someone who says that.
And
Now,
I agreed with him that he did have a point, that these things happen, but yeah, you're kind of talking to the wrong person. I don't hold those kinds of views, and I don't have those kinds of conversations. So you're really, this is a waste of your time. But he persisted, and he began, touting his education in sociology and, racial education background and stuff. And I'm like, okay, but this still really has nothing to do with me. And when I gave him basically the dictionary definition of racist, the definition that Grappling Ignorance says is the older one, which I see as being the accurate one, he said, yeah, that I was completely wrong, and that people of color or minorities cannot, by definition, be racist. So I was just like, yeah, dude, this conversation's kind of over because you're completely unreasonable.
it seems like saying that, it seems like he was like baiting you into that point. Like he just
Yeah.
wanted to bring that up, and that's where he goes, where things go wrong. Like if your point is that even saying, like, having positive prejudged expectations about an ethnicity still comes off as racist. Okay, I mean that's a point that you can bring up. But if the point is to get to that, I want to know, and I've no doubt that there are sociology books that have definitions that support what he's talking about. I want to know what good comes from that. From accepting that definition, what is the genuine positive that comes from saying, no, I can say anything I want about any ethnic group that I want, but I'm automatically immune to being criticized, even if I say things that if you said it would be racist. What good is that? What good is this get out of jail free card for
I think
for ethnic minorities?
Yeah, it's basically what you had just said a little while ago, though. I mean, I think the idea of that definition is to give voice to the disenfranchised. And while I understand that, it's, I think, more detrimental than anything else, though. Because when does the oppressed become the oppressor? So.
And does making the oppressed the oppressor solve the problem? Like.
No.
Right, exactly.
the problem is still present. We haven't done anything. We're trying to shift it around instead of actually addressing the problem itself. And when I look at the issue of racism, I'm looking at, there's a problem of inequality. There's a problem of human beings treating each other poorly, and that's the problem. I don't think that this is like groundbreaking, profound stuff here. The problem of racism is human beings treating one another poorly. At the bottom line is that, and that's what needs to be addressed. And playing the blame game or trying to define our way into whose fault something is and what labels we can throw at one another is just such missing the target at such a great extent.
Yeah, and the guy targeted Dev because he's white, and it's like another form of racism where you link people together of a certain demographic. So if you get back at one, like Dev, then you're getting back at all of them. It's like,
yeah.
that's how you fight back, is by just picking out some random guy who has the trait of, whatever you're an ist against, and then you attack that person, and somehow, that's supposed to, make you feel better or whatever. That's racist. That's what's sexist.
And you're more apt to draw people away from your cause by doing that. You're
Right.
just assuming, hey, that's a white guy, and other white guys have treated me this way, so let me pick a bone with that white guy, and that'll show him.
Yeah, completely disconnected people. Like, I have nothing to do with this white guy over here, and that being cognizant of that, I can go up to a black person and know that he has absolutely nothing to do with some other black person who may have wronged me in the past. You got to be able to separate people. And someone asked in the chat earlier what we think of individualism and collectivism. I think that that's one of the problems when collectivism runs rampant, is that everyone becomes accountable to as part of a group, and I think that's such bullshit. And that type of shit leads to genocide.
What, like, are you talking about? I mean, would reparations fit into that category?
Reparations, yeah, because I mean, I think people now, here in the 21st century, are pretty much fucking accountable for their own lives.
Yeah. Well, I mean, such a weird issue to talk about, I think. I don't know. Okay.
I mean, it's definitely collectivist. And I think there's absolutely a danger when societies become more collectivist and don't focus more on the individual aspects of personal acts. I think everybody should be judged based on their acts, not based on the acts of their forefathers. That's an old idea that everybody here should know pretty well. But yeah, I mean, I think that reparations in general, it really sucks, but reparations in general are just a bad idea to punish society today for the actions of people that were, 150, 200 years ago.
And, well, you could say that society today is still punishing people for actions of people hundreds of years ago. The logistics of reparations have never made sense to me, and the consequence of doing something like that. So if reparations took place, okay, who gets what? Who gets how much of what money that we're using as compensation for this ethnic descendancy? And once that's been done, does that mean that, okay, well, everything's even Steven? All of the problems, and does this happen? Does this have to happen like once per generation? Does this have to happen to every member of that ethnic group for the
eternally guilty? That sounds like an idea that we already know about.
Yeah.
And when we consider where the money comes from, like my family immigrated here in the 20th century. We had nothing to fucking do with any of the slavery that went on here. What about what is this going to do for people receiving reparations? How is this going to fix the problems? Like, if you think about it's this redistribution of wealth thing, like, take money from these people and give it to these people. All right, so now what? You think that's just going to fix all the problems?
I think it would make matters worse, because people would suddenly have a tangible thing to be bitter and angry about.
It's one side's going to be angry about it, and do you think the other side is just going to give up after they've actually received something, after they've been successful? They're just going to say, okay, well, we're happy now?
Nope.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. There are huge groups of people who are for reparations, and there are also surprisingly huge groups of people who are against them. And the people who are against reparations seem to be the more academic individuals, but it doesn't have to be that. It's not necessarily that way. So it's interesting to see how that makes sense. If you're talking about a society that's collectivist in general, then racism is going to be even more of an issue. Or it doesn't even have to be racism. It just can be some kind of dogmatic system that applies to everyone, regardless of their upbringing or their background or their gender or their ethnicity. It just applies to you, like police brutality. Or the actions of the police that aren't considered police brutality but are considered to be unfair. In a collectivist society, all that stuff's kind of got to be okay. I mean, moving toward a collectivist society, I think, would be a horrible thing for any country to do. But the United States, particularly, would be even worse. It would be terrible.
I feel like there were questions asked.
Yeah, I'm sure there were. We've been talking about racism for quite a while.
We addressed the collectivism, individualism thing.
Right.
Grandma's what I usually people say. Tommy, what do you think of the New York primary results? Was asked.
I answered it in the chat room.
Well, answer it for us, Tommy.
It's all fixed. Everything's fixed.
How much did Hillary win by? I know she won, but I
Like
don't know how.
15, 20.
Fucking serious, 12 or 14 points, something like that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was pretty big victory for her.
Mm-hmm.
So is this pretty much seal the deal then?
No, not quite yet. We'll see what happens in California, but if Bernie doesn't win big in California, he's going to have to be sucking a lot of superdelegate dicks to get them to switch over from Hillary to him, and then it becomes just an untenable situation for him. A lot of people were saying that before New York happened anyway. It didn't matter if Bernie swept all of the contests that are coming up, he'll still lose the nomination because of the superdelegates. So
if it's Hillary against Trump, I will start believing in a soul, because I think I would feel it getting sucked from my body. I mean, to have to. I've been a voter. I've voted in, I've been an avid voter. Let me just put it that way. And God, I just have to give serious thought to just saying fuck it and not voting. I mean, I can't in good conscience. I mean, I guess I could. I mean, pick somebody else, but I mean,
there's more at stake in the election than the fucking person who's being elected.
I feel like we've covered this.
We have.
Yeah, I see it this way. Dark matter. I see it this way. If it comes down to Trump versus Hillary, voting Hillary basically is almost like just like a pause button. Not much is going to change, I don't think. She's not a real revolutionary kind of a candidate. She's promising nothing. She's promising not to change anything, really. That's what she's saying. It's, hey, Obama, 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 Obama. So that's her platform. So voting Hillary isn't necessarily a bad thing in that way, because she's not looking to change anything. So it's pause for 4 years, or maybe 8, depending, but it's pause. Trump, on the other hand, then yeah,
I'm with Dev on that, and I never really had any strong feelings against Hillary Clinton, even like as a person before this election, and then like during this election cycle and the events leading up to it, like I just kept getting more and more reasons to like she's just like as an individual, as a person, she just seems so fake and so awful. Like, just I would not want to be in this person's presence. But from a political standpoint, I mean, it's the let's not change anything campaign. Which is interestingly the opposite of what Obama won based on. It's like,
Right, with some of Bernie's talking points
yeah,
adopted along the way.
yeah, and okay, but just because I think that she's like a really obnoxious and fake person, um, that doesn't mean that she is a political inferior to someone like Trump or Cruz. And if I separate the annoyance that I get from her from the political points, yeah, it's okay. So we're just going to keep everything the way it is, and hopefully something will improve. And I really hope that in the next 4 years, the movement that Bernie has started will continue, that somebody else will pick up that mantle, maybe somebody who is, or some group of people from both sides will start realizing the problems that have come to light and just how many American people care about it. I'm discouraged by a couple of things. I'm discouraged by how in this time of the internet, the people have still allowed mainstream media to affect them as much as they have, and that the American people have gone about voting for their own, against their own self-interest so strongly that we've had this revolutionary opportunity for somebody to come along and challenge the real problems in real, tangible ways, and that we've been, I guess, as a whole, it feels like we've just been afraid, and that we've just said, no, we can't do that. We can't we can't address these actual problems, and I feel much safer just keeping things the way they are, just embracing the status quo, because that's too much. We can't do that. We can't do these things that other countries all around the world are doing. We've been convinced. We've been convinced by, I don't know, mainstream media. We've been convinced by pundits. We've been convinced by corporate influences that no, things have to be this way in this country, and you're going to vote to keep them that way. And even if that's, let's play up the scary, crazy sounding alternatives. Let's give them lots of attention to scare you into voting for the safe mainstream establishment politician. Don't look at that person who's trying to offer real solutions to the actual problems. And I'm disappointed by that. I'm disappointed that America's had a genuine golden opportunity at political revolution, and essentially they've said, no, we're too scared for that.
Yeah,
Well,
one
I think.
of democracy stopped doing their job decades ago. So.
Okay, let's move on. Are Muslims cool? Some of them. Has anyone in history actually slipped on a banana peel? I'm sure. Why do U.S. elections take so long? Because money. How do you have materialism and abstract / numbers? This might be too obscure a philosophical issue. No, that's not obscure. I don't think. I don't think that materialism can explain beauty. Let's see. When does a Game of Thrones start to get good? 3 episodes in and it's total trash. I think Game of Thrones is great.
Josh, did you want to answer that question? That they said maybe this is absurd?
Obscure. Too obscure a philosophical issue. How do you have materialism and abstract numbers? And I did answer it. I think I think that it's interesting. It's an interesting paradox because materialism can't account, in my opinion, for beauty. Generally, materialism can't account for those kinds of abstract things, or even abstract phenomena like numbers. Which, I mean, it's a great point.
What does account for them, then?
I'm sorry?
What do you have an idea of what does account for them?
No, they're just naturally occurring phenomena, and it's the way that our brains interpret our surroundings. So we decide that things are appealing to us or are beautiful. Did this matter to? I've from an anthropological standpoint, I've really labored over this question about how human beings 50,000 years ago thought about beauty. What was their opinion of of aesthetics? What was their opinion of watching an amazing storm or watching a sunrise? Were they totally in disregard of those aesthetic qualities of being because they had the more obviously pressing priority of survival? Just wish I could communicate with one of those people and say, "What the fuck are you thinking right now?"
I think
But
one
it's
thing,
a product of our environment that we're able to find beauty in those things and artistically reproduce them.
a component of it, this isn't the whole answer, but a component of it is rarity, scarcity. So
I think that's true. Yeah, I think that rarity is a component of that, but rarity also has we have a general conception of what that means, and to somebody whose environment isn't affected by rarity unless it's scarcity, which is much more important regarding food, or scarcity regarding people or numbers, so you don't get attacked by a fucking saber-toothed tiger or something. You know, that I think that that was much more the priority than, instead of this thing is beautiful because it's rare. We hardly ever see this, and that's why we are drawn to it, but we don't know why. We have no idea why this thing is appealing, but it is. And I would like to know whether or not that existed in early human beings with different survival priorities, but also if it existed as a result of our being, of our accident of birth, being born at the time and place that we were.
they made art. I mean, Venus of Willendorf, cave paintings.
Sure, yeah, they made art, but was it because of an aesthetic, or was it because of our disposition to duplicate events that had very impactful emotions attached to them?
Well, look at Venus of Willendorf, for instance, which is a figure that would have been extremely rare back then. A fat woman, I mean, it was the most beautiful thing in the world to them, and it's immortalized. They had to make an artwork of it.
Right, but what's your point about that? I'm sorry, I'm just missing it.
Well, we're talking. It's people from tens of thousands of years ago.
Oh, reverence. So I think that that reverence was possible, but that's added to the added to the abstract. Reverence is added to the abstract. Our consciousness adds a whole lot of interesting things to existence in general by way of our merely of our existing. So that's why it's a paradox. It's a quandary. So I think it's interesting. It's an interesting question.
Yeah. And that's where people like to plug in God quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's another reason why people take those kind of creative thoughts and imagination to a whole new level. But they're also, I mean, religion, in my opinion, is born of fear. So,
and it, of course, just pushes the problem back a step.
Right. So you retard the idea, and you don't get to the next step where you can appreciate that aesthetic. And of course, we have famous philosophers who thought the aesthetic was absolutely meaningless, like Plato. So, or counterproductive in philosophy, which I think is just absurd. But yeah, interesting to ponder for sure. Do you consider harassment a good thing?
No.
I don't know who. Cat's Eye said it. I don't know who we're talking about here.
I do think that people have vastly different ideas about what constitutes harassment. Some people consider, strong disagreements to be harassment, and harassment to me is someone who it has to be repetitive in nature, and you have to it has to be clearly unwanted. That's harassment. But someone just disagreeing with you on the internet, or making an opinion in a video or something, or having a rebuttal to you, that's not fucking harassment. Um, it has to be vitriolic
Dark
and
matter, stop harassing me. All right.
you know like I said, vitriolic, repetitive, unwanted. If someone says leave me, please leave me alone, and you keep at them anyway, uh, contacting them, sending them messages, yeah, I could see how that's harassment. And it's a waste of time too. There's so much better things to be doing with your life than bothering someone who doesn't want you in their life.
Bingo.
Why, after 1960, the situation in single-parent families worsened so much in black communities?
Why after what, 1960s?
1960, the situation in single-parent families worsened so much in black communities.
What
I
did
don't know
that
what
coincide?
I don't know what that means.
Did that coincide with some?
I don't know. There might have been some other chat that was going on there. Trying to find other questions that people ask because we were talking for a long time.
It seems like a lot of single parent. There's more single parents now. It's steadily increasing, and some people say that's because of the decline of Christianity.
Well, there used to be a lot more shame in something like divorce. Like, it used to be straight up shame. There's no other word for it. The way that it was treated a lot in society. If you divorced somebody, then that was a genuinely sacrilegious thing, and religion was regarded more prominently, and it was socially you had broken a vow, and this was a terrible thing, and it was frowned upon heavily. And I don't think that that's necessarily a better situation where people are staying with someone and they're staying in a relationship where they're genuinely unhappy for the sake of how society will treat them if they break that relationship.
Yeah.
But it does lead to, and I don't think that in general, when you have like a nuclear family, if you will, if you have two parents in support of a child, generally that's better off. But that's under the assumption that those two parents are good parents. If you have two parents and one of them is a complete asshole and is having a negative influence on that child, then that's a bad thing, and they're better off being removed from that child. If you could have three parents in a household, and if they're all nurturing and they're caring for that child, then that's a good thing. But if 2 to 3 of them are bad influences, then that's a bad thing. So I think we're caught into this general concept of, well, having more parents is better, but we don't consider the details of that and how that can be very untrue.
Well, Nick Dolge is saying in chat, 1960 coincided with black people getting much more freedom, and yes, much more black children fatherless in black families. This is happening only in black communities. How does shame?
It's not though. It's happening.
Yeah, it happens everywhere. It happens in all low-income communities.
Yeah, not just black families, but maybe you might say it's happening disproportionately more.
I guess what he's trying to do is correlate the amount of freedoms that black people kind of newly enjoyed in the 60s with the amount of single parent households that occurred, or the uptick in single parent households. I haven't looked at that. I don't know about the numbers. And I'm not sure of the percentages or whether or not there's even a correlation between why there were more single parents in the 60s than there were in any other time. I mean, it seems kind of like a non-question to me.
And you said this is happening only in black communities. How does shame explain this? I wasn't suggesting that that's the sole reason for us having more single families, just because divorce used to be much more shamed. But it's just one of several factors that I imagine led into it. We, as a society in general, enjoy more societal freedom overall. We can say what we're thinking more. We can do more of what we want without the same degree of public shame, but of public acceptance itself, and our understanding of the way things work, and our access to information, and our access to people. All of those are things that have changed in their availability since the 1960s.
And there are a lot of things that are just
I think that's true. Yeah.
socioeconomic. I mean, there's, you talk about black families specifically. I mean, you have a higher rate of incarceration for young black men. That's one thing. You have most black families, black men in particular, well, actually black women in particular, making a lot less money than their white counterparts.
But
Poverty feeds into that. Then you're going to have the drug culture of inner cities because of the fact that they are making less money. That's where many of them live. All these issues, all of these things would play into why there would be more black children that are fatherless.
But also, it wasn't black people got more freedoms and rights, and then boom, everything was okay. Why can't they just clean up their act and fucking act like everybody else? It just society didn't work and doesn't work that way. So I think that there's too much that we're reading into the question and saying that there was an event, and right at this event, this thing happened because of this event. I just don't think that there's enough data to support that this event caused this percentage in a certain demographic of people. I guess it's just not an interesting question to me.
I don't understand what Nick is like getting at.
I don't either. I don't know
what he wants us to get at.
What's the point you're trying to make? I mean,
Google this single family parents by race. Are you trying to like get us to say that there tend to be a disproportionate number of single parent families that are black? And you want us? What are you trying to get us to conclude?
Yeah, I mean, propose something. I appreciate the dialectical process, but make a proposition.
And he said, I have some black friends who blame whites in all problems. That's cool. I know some white people that blame other groups for all of their problems.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't imply causation. I mean, if there was any more glaring use of correlation, not implying causation, is it's this one.
I know some people who blame Muslims for all their problems. Nick.
Richie, behave.
Easy, brother.
Sorry. It's
just say assalamu alaikum and you'll.
Yeah, I've only prayed 4 times today, and I'm just gonna shut up and go.
Just make sure you face east. Face east.
Oh. Yeah.
Toward the minarets that are going up in every city in the United States. And I'm sorry, we might have glossed over some of the questions that were asked before just because the discussion on racism went a little long. I think it needed to. I'm not upset that it did. But if you had a question that was not answered, please feel free to ask it again. I apologize for not getting to it, but we want to handle as many questions as possible. And if it's something as polarizing an issue as racism, then we're probably going to run with that a little bit. So.
On which Tamek asked earlier what we felt about when someone says, as a white person, you're not allowed in this discussion, something to that effect.
Being excluded because you're not a part of the group?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
it's
I,
one of the
sadly.
most absurd arguments that I've ever heard. It's really stupid. There is an aspect to experience that does lend a greater kind of wisdom or knowledge about a particular aspect. If I had been stabbed and you have not, I would be more of an authority to speak on that. But we could both imagine the act of being stabbed, the things that would have to go into the the healing of the wound, and we would be able to relate, at least on an empathetic level, it being being outside of the stabby group, you know. So this comes up when people say, well, men can't talk about women's issues because they don't know shit, or Muslims can't talk. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say atheists can't talk about Islamic issues because they have no idea what they're talking about, or you know, et cetera, et cetera. It's just absurd. If you can look at something and see it objectively, you can be taught nuance, and of course you're going to have a disadvantage in the conversation because of your experiential awareness of what the content of the conversation is, but you're still going to be able to speak intelligently about a lot of what goes on. So do not buy.
Yeah.
um,
Oh, and somebody said, "Rip Happy Cabby."
Oh, yeah.
Happy
he
Cabby
passed
died.
on.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Holy
Fuck
shit.
him.
I wouldn't necessarily say that in the wake of his death, but
Oh, I would. It doesn't matter if you die. If you're an asshole before you died, you're gonna still be an asshole after you died. I
well,
mean, I wouldn't
actually,
seek
I'd
out
say
his.
you're less of an asshole after you die.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I
literally. But my opinion of you being an asshole isn't gonna change because you're dead.
Right, and nor should it necessarily.
Right. So
So,
fuck that guy right in the goat ass with a giant Louisville slugger.
okay, that's the spirit. Tamik asked, "What's the biggest problem with education that we face today?" And you guys might want to look at other questions if I'm going to answer that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
He asked, "What's the biggest problem with education that we face today?"
Wow.
So if there are other questions in there or responses you guys wanted to say, I could go off on.
I'm shit, man. I mean, you could say what are the 10 biggest questions, and we would still be able to have them. Federal, I would say probably. God, there's just so many to choose from. It's hard to pick one that's the worst. Maybe federal or state involvement in standardized tests, and
testing.
the treatment of educators because of the results of those standardized tests, or the decision on where money is going to go based on test results, or something like that. As if the teacher's responsible for fucking changing the life fundamentally, and also the capacity of intelligence and critical thinking of your child who you fucked up raising their entire life because they asked you what a potato is one day and you said, just shut the fuck up and go watch TV. I mean, it's a huge fucking problem, and there are so many others. Parenting is also up there, like, and that could be number one. Parental involvement in public education for kids, and how it needs to absolutely immediately improve, or I mean, and that's a whole fucking show.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It was a show.
Well, the concept of excuse me, the concept of parenting itself and the kind of influence and how important that is a whole ball of wax to deal with. In addition to those two things that you mentioned, the deeply antiquated system that we have itself right now in education, something that we've essentially been adorning with Band-Aids for the last century or so. We've taken the same system that we had 100 years ago, and we've tried to we've done our best to include technology, and we've tried to dress it up, and we've tried to just keep this same system at all costs, because changing it's difficult, and it comes with challenges, and changing the, if I could for a moment touch on a lot of people.
Oh, here we go. All right, I'm going to put a timer on. You get 2 minutes.
A lot of people bring up Common Core when they're looking at problems with education, and they complain about Common Core. Well, that's the problem. You got Common Core. Like we didn't have problems with education 5 years ago when Common Core was coming out. Common Core isn't particularly helpful, but when people complain about Common Core and its effects, like the 48 states that I believe it does, might be 47 now, the people are quick to complain about it by this understanding that there's some kind of standardization in curriculum standards and the way that some things are taught. And while Common Core has a lot of strange, like head-scratching things in it, most of the people who complain about it couldn't tell you a single strand of a single standard of a single grade level that was in their state of residence before Common Core. When I asked them to tell me about the standards that were in place before, tell me about the curriculum that we had before Common Core, tell me about the kind of standards that you'd like to replace Common Core, there's just nothing. There's just like, well, I know that Common Core came up, and those are 2 words associated with education recently, and education's bad. Tommy, you're echoing.
Yeah, he's probably doing that because your 2 minutes are up.
Can I just say that I
Stop.
Can I just say that I work out a lot, so I have an uncommon core, 6 packs, and never mind.
Oh my God,
I'm
that
sorry.
was such a good pun, and
Yeah.
we've got the clapping. Grappling Ignorance is on board entirely with that pun. You have impressed him. Sir.
Approved.
All right, so next question, for fuck's sake.
I mean, I could go on.
Yes, you could.
For the record,
We are very aware.
there's more to cover there. And it is, I don't know if this was mentioned before I got here,
Oh, for fuck's sake.
but it is 420. And I just want to say that I think that 420 jokes are overdone. Some might call them overbaked. And we should try to weed them out.
Ah,
Am I wrong?
Am I wrong?
Am I wrong?
Yeah, but
I haven't heard such terrible jokes like that since my old friends Mary and Juan used to say shit like that all the time.
the first one I ever heard was jokes about the female menstrual cycle are not okay. Period. And after that, I have quite a liking for them. I enjoyed your pun there.
Good. I didn't mean to be blunt.
Ah,
Here we go.
that's very dubious, Richie.
There it is.
Dubious.
And speaking of jokes, that
These are
aren't funny,
stoner dad jokes, by the way.
Holocaust jokes are also not funny, and frankly, they're offensive. And you know what?
That one's funny.
Civil War jokes are generally also not fun. I could do this all night too, if that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, we're not gonna do this all night.
Do it all night. Fuck it.
Do it. Oh, there's Tommy.
Hey, he's back.
I've been here listening.
Oh, I was listening to myself through your microphone as well.
Jesus Christ, why are 1 through 3, first through third grades weak in public schools? Children after Montessori school feels dumb in public schools. Okay.
I'm not sure the follow-up statement, children after Montessori school. First of all, it's grammatically flawed. Children feel. Wait, what are you trying to say? Like that's. I just don't.
You want to fucking fight?
No, I'm just confused.
Well, as far as thin crust versus thick crust, as long as it's crunchy, I like a crunchy crust.
Thick.
I don't like. I like thin crust. Is better.
Oh, you're gross for that. Pizza.
I'm a thin crust pizza apologist.
Me too.
It seems
Yeah,
like
learn how to mute your fucking mic.
Seems like
What are you
people
talking about?
like their pizza like they like their women.
There might be something to that.
Thin, thick.
Listen. Okay, for me, pizza, it's supposed to be a pie, right? It's supposed to be a pie. There should be substance. I should be sinking my teeth into as much food, preferably as many dead animals as possible, as I bite into a pizza, right? I shouldn't eat an entire slice of pizza and not feel any fuller than I was before I ate the slice of pizza. And
There's
if
more slices.
there
Hello.
are more slices, yeah, but when you're talking to somebody who will eat a whole pizza, so if I eat a whole pizza and then I could have eaten this other whole pizza where I'd have more food, which one's better? Am I wrong?
I guess if you're starving, you want to go with thick crust.
Probably
That's
because of the carbs.
hungry. If
They
you're,
like their pizza like they like their women.
that's what he said.
I like pizza. No, pizza is like a woman.
With
I like
pepperoni
pizza. That's funny. Okay, so is the general American population getting dumbed down by current education levels in each state?
Is the general education? Well, here's the problem that what we've tried to do, what the government has tried to do, most of whom have no experience in education, is they've tried to improve education by making things what they call more rigorous. By making standardized tests more rigorous, we therefore improve education. And instead, this shifts a lot of the burden of educators onto getting kids to pass rigorous tests. And by rigorous, what it actually means is more confusing, more difficult test questions. Or the way that they're presented is confusing or difficult, or questions where there are lots of ways to get them wrong and only one way to get them right. Curriculum that is more challenging. And creating more challenging curriculum does not help you to have a stronger educational standard. Finding ways to reach those kids more effectively is what gives you stronger educational success. Back to this Montessori schools in kindergarten give a level of 4th grade. After kindergarten in Montessori schools, they feel bored in 1 through 3 grades in public schools. Okay, Tommy is unmuted again.
Tommy,
I can only assume that means he wants to answer that question.
what do you think, Tommy?
Okay, good point. When you're looking at these sort of things, when people compare things like a Montessori school or a private school to public school, and they say, well, in this private school institution, these things are different, and in a Montessori school, you're dealing with a completely different environment. You're dealing with a completely different class of general population is going to be different, and when you compare private school results, and by the way, teaching at a private school is not easier than teaching at a public school. There's no teaching job that's necessarily easy. The challenges that exist in education are just different. They take different forms.
Except English. English is easy.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest subject.
Probably the easiest fucking, like, mind-numbingly boring subject.
Yeah, they speak it already, so it's pretty much just done
It's like,
for
whatever. You know, getting them to write it down, though, however,
yeah,
challenge.
Anyway, but when you look at things like, people will say, well, you know, private school, they're able to move at a faster pace, and they have higher standardized test scores. Regularly, they have higher standardized test scores. A public school has to educate the public. They have to educate whoever comes there, and many places don't have a viable, genuine alternative school available to them. So public schools have to deal with any children that are brought there with all of the challenges and problems that they have, including their aptitude on tests, whereas a private school is at liberty to select the students that they bring in. Many private schools have entry have entry requirements. They have entry test requirements, and you get in there because you can take tests well. And then, of course, if you show high aptitude and you have an entire school of people showing higher aptitude, then that makes them better. If you take people that struggle with, that have low aptitude in those areas, that have these traumatic issues, that have an entire history of disenfranchisement with education, or a family that fails to reinforce these things, and you couldn't just transplant them into a private school and then presto, now they're smarter. It just doesn't work that way, even though on paper people like to think that it does. And they like to use that as evidence for abolishing a public education system in favor of privatized education system, which is another show. But essentially, if you take away the public education system and you say, well, it's a parent's responsibility to pay for their child to go to school, and if they don't, then that's on them. You're going to have a lot of kids that are uneducated. Simple as that. If parents had to genuinely pony up and pay, every parent in America that has children had to pay per child to send their children to school, you would have deeply uneducated children.
Okay, so that's the discussion about education. Switching topics now to...
I have a question about education.
Fuck you, Tommy. God
Let's
damn
go.
it. Here we go.
Now he mutes his mic.
So no, he didn't actually have a question about education. All right, so we've been on for a couple hours. It's time to end the fucking show. So because I want to spend time with somebody. So please join us next week when we will probably have a show. We will most likely be here next week on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And I appreciate everybody for coming out. Thanks to all my guests who showed up, especially to Tommy. Thanks for showing up, Tommy. I appreciate that. So thanks again for everybody for coming. And we will see you, hopefully, next week. And until that time comes, bye now.